flag is in the air. We are racing.
3x3.
Almost in trouble. Around goes Alex Hill. On into the outside wall goes Hill. They're wrecking big time out back. We're not going to throw a caution. To the finish. Who gets it in the line? Cody Nagels wins it at Talladega.
Hello, everybody, and welcome into PGR eSports' Intimidator Superspeedway Series, live tonight from the high banks of Talladega Superspeedway. Thank you all so much for tuning in. You are watching Austin Green and Matt Mettler on PGR eSports. Well, drivers have gotten qualifying wrapped up. They're getting gridded up, and we're getting ready to get this action going here tonight. But before we get started, Matt, it's good to have you in the booth here tonight. How you feeling?
Man, it's great to be back here on PGR eSports, and I'm in for a treat tonight. As you mentioned, the Intimidator Series, they have brought out the drivers tonight, 41 strong, going to take the initial green flag, which should shape up to be a high-octane thriller right here in prime time.
Indeed it will. Well, let's get things kicked off with tonight's starting grid. Taking the pole, it's going to be Garrett Maines, puts down a 54.325. Ian Martin in the 39 will start to his outside in second, with series owner Michael Triscaro back in third. Trevor Oswald out for the Jack Shack, rounds out row 2 and 4th with Chase Mastretta, one of the new additions to Nightmare eSports. He will roll off 5th here tonight. Daniel Eberhardt back in 6th. They've got Dalton Martin in 7th. Mark Vondell from McCullough Motorsports back in 8th. Cody Nagels for Nightmare eSports in 9th, with Kyler Wynn, the Canadian driver, rounding out your top 10. Moving on back to row number 6. In the 11th spot, starting here tonight, it's going to be John Mullahan with Nash Brambilla to his outside in 12th. Jared Haynes back in 13th with Michael Guest in 14th. Landon Veliky, that is the other new addition to Nightmare eSports, who will roll off tonight from the 15th spot. Chris Walker for the Jack Shack back in 16th. Then it's Ken McCullough Jr. in the 17th spot with Mike Davenport to his outside in 18th. Malik Gray will roll off 19th, and it's Vicente Guerrero rounding out the top 20. Andrew Navarro starts in 21st. Gordon Spain back in 22nd. Kevin Fries in 23rd with Zach Range in 24th. Matt Lee for Nightmare eSports 25th. Evan Carlbon, he will start in 26th. Steven Scott Jr. in 27th with Josh Bondwell making a return here tonight. He starts 28th. Larry McDonald 29th, and Sean Corbett rounding out your top 30. Jeff Merck starts in 31st for NBG Motorsports, and then Brian Hennings back in 32nd. Axel Smith 33rd. Grant Gutter, good to see him in the field tonight. He'll start 34th. Dylan Jones back in 35th with Logan York in 36th. Joshua McCullough 37th. Tyler Vickery in 38th. Tucker McClendon 39th. And Jimmy Emos rounding out your top 40. Steve Sizemore rounds out the field. He rolls off 41st here tonight. Taking a look at your race info, 86 degrees outside. Clear skies, winds at 0 miles per hour. 60 laps going to be the distance here tonight, as we are in the Xfinity cars. 45% fuel, unlimited tires. No fast spare, fixed setups as always with 3 green-white checkers. And track temp going to start out at 122 degrees for this 2.65-mile super speedway oval, with well over 30 degrees of banking on both ends of the racetrack in all 4 corners. And then the long straights are going to allow for a lot of pushing and shoving. And with the new update, these Xfinity cars, they've been a handful. A lot of drivers anticipating what we're going to see here tonight. We're getting ready to find out. Green flag is in the air. We are racing at Talladega.
Green flag in the air here at Talladega is 41 strong. Now, these V8s come roaring to life, and it's a side-by-side Noah's Ark situation at the front. Two Toyotas, these TRDs going places, and that's what they're doing as they continue to lead as we barrel down the backstretch.
And right now, all that 2x2, and notice what you see, that is a lot of wiggling drivers. Again, we talked about it, the topic here tonight was going to be how comfortable did everybody feel since the update with these Xfinity cars. Trevor Ostronoff, he'll move down to the inside lane as they work off into turn 3. That'll now put the Jack Shack out in front, as it's the 90 of Daniel Eberhardt working with Cody Nagels on that top groove. But I think the notes that everybody's kind of got is you cannot push the same way you used to be able to in these cars. If you try to go up and slam draft a guy, it will hook their car either to the right or the left based off where your offset is. Ooh, Trevor blinks around a little bit there. That caused a bit of a scare. But point being, Matt, now the thing you got to do is almost like the way they handle more in real life, where you got to slowly ease onto the back bumper of the guy you're trying to push. And then once you link up, that's when you can drop the hammer and really start to do some pushing.
Oh, man, speaking of pushing, that's the worst thing you want to see at Talladega is the car in front of you, your dancing partner, blinking out. That's a big-time scare for all these drivers, especially on the inside line. You can see exactly how the 89 there, Trevor, reacted to that situation, trying to back off and give that driver some space. But hopefully the driver behind you knows exactly what's going on. Remember, you can barely, see the car in front of you, let alone see through two cars. So great situational awareness out there on the racetrack as these drivers continue to run 2x2. In Austin, to your point, the slam dance is gone. It's a thing of the past. You decide to go up there and absolutely give someone a shot in this Xfinity car like you used to, that is gone. You do that, and that's almost guaranteed certain death. You have to know really how to do the two-car tango of old, back from the COT era. Just get that run up onto that guy in front of you, make contact, and then go ahead and work together to use that momentum and, basically share that draft as these guys are now going 3 wide here. Look at that 60 machine up there on the high side of the racetrack, already getting rowdy here at Talladega.
Yeah, that's Jeff Merck, the driver out of Punta Gorda, Florida, as we take a look at his driver cam here tonight, and he is working with the 04 of Matt Lee. He's got the 82 of Kyler Wynn pushing and towing. I like that point that you did bring up, Matt, about, these cars, you see the giant spoiler on the back. It's not quite as excessive, as you will, as we see on the next gens, but it's still enough where it can obstruct your view. And everybody runs a different mirror setup depending on which one you have. It can be hard to judge those runs out back, and if you can't have the car set and ready to be pushed, that's where you got to be really, really careful with the slam drafting. So far, no incidents as we remain 2x2. We've got a trio of Coke Series drivers concentrated right here just inside the top 10. There is Michael Guest making a return here tonight in the 54. It's been a handful of races or so since we've seen him out on the track, so he'll be looking to return to victory lane here tonight as Garrett Maines currently runs at 8th, and then it's Malik Ray, currently the man on a hot streak and now slowly but surely becoming one of the most winningest drivers in PGR Intimidator Superspeedway Series history, who currently runs in that 6th spot. And he's already up 13 from where he started this race at, as now he's going to look to lead the charge in that 3rd lane. He's got help from the 54 of Michael Guest. Here comes the 7 and the 54 as they work off into turn 1.
They work off into turn 1 as Ray has got a rocket ship with him out here in competition tonight, really getting all the momentum on that high side of the racetrack. That 54 tucked in line. In fact, that outside lane, that is perfect. It doesn't get much better than that. And look how it's translating to the momentum, the speed out there, as it's a 3-way 4 and a fair going into the turns 3 and 4 complex. That Camaro is kind of stalled out there on the outside. That we're 3 abreast going for it here, coming off of turn 4.
And all this 3x3 is going to have a lot of drivers really nervous, especially the ones that find themselves in the middle of this pack with not many options and not necessarily any exit windows, if you will, but a guy who can see all the action and right now is not involved in it is Jarrett Haynes. We hop on the onboard view for him now. As you can see, he's sitting behind John Mullihan in the 2, just kind of riding, maybe saving a little fuel. And that's one thing we haven't mentioned yet is what the fuel window is looking like here tonight, but it's at 45%. And in these cars, that gets you, I would say, probably somewhere to right around, reckon, one around.
Problems. Get you off there, boss man.
Oh, and that's Ken, is that Ken McCullough Jr.? No, I don't believe it is. That's the 099 of, is that Ken McCullough? No, Ken's going to dive low. He misses. That's Grant Gutter.
Grant Gutter.
In the 099. It goes around. He's got some significant damage there on the front end of that race car, but besides that, it looks like he's relatively okay everywhere else. I take that back. Back end certainly looks like it's pretty caved in. As looked like something happened getting off at 2, Matt. What'd you see?
let's go back to the PGR instant replay here, and already you can see Gutter bad out of shape. So let's wind this back to resume playback here. Looks like two cars trying to occupy the same piece of real estate at the same time here. Watch Gutter start to come up the racetrack, and the 80 is going to start to come down as we send it up to the chopper cam here. And you can see the 099 just comes right up, makes contact with the 80 machine, and he's going to get spun right across the nose, right into that safer barrier. Big-time self-inflicted concrete poisoning. But how about the job, Austin, of these other drivers having that great awareness out there on the racetrack as they're able virtually to skate by unharmed here? That's a big-time that's just huge that those drivers are able to do that. Usually you see a lot more carnage here versus what we just seen with the first incident on the evening.
Yeah, big-time wreck avoidance from a lot of these guys, but I was looking back at it here, Matt, and it almost looks to me like I'm not sure if he had an issue or if just didn't realize they were three wide. What happened to cause the 099 to drift up? But, I mean, you can see from this angle, Larry McDonald, he does not move. His right side tires are painted on that white line, and, yeah, Gutter just drifts up enough to where there's contact, and once that contact occurs, I mean, nothing that Larry McDonald could do there. He wasn't expecting the 99 to move up, and once he did, the contact was made. It hooks that 99 right into the fence. You talked about it. That was a pretty hard shot onto the safer barrier. You saw all four tires of that car actually leave the ground just briefly here. Let's watch this contact again right there. So it's more like two tires kind of got pinched on its side. And, you know, when you have an incident like that, Larry McDonald did a great job of not hitting him again. That kind of minimizes the damage he sustained not just the 099, but also kind of minimize the damage that the 80 sustained. But I do want to go to the onboard view here for Larry McDonald, and watch what I'm talking about here. You see Larry's at the top of three wide, and right there, it was such a quick move up by the 099 that, I mean, Larry just didn't even have a chance to react, even if he really wanted to. But you said it, Matt. I think by him staying further up towards the top of the racetrack, there's kind of what saved a whole lot more drivers from being involved in this and making it a multi-car incident.
Yeah, just such an unfortunate event here, and it has to be some type of a problem, either with software or perhaps a wheel issue. Just a very uncharacteristic move there from Grant Gutter, and unfortunately, no place to go, nowhere you can run and hide. And by the time he realized he was going to be in it, it was over. But to your point, great job there by these drivers, just having the mindset and having the action and avoidance skills to get out of harm's way. And then how about the other driver involved there, jumping on the binders, not administering a second shot, as Gutter went full-blown helicopter mode. And a lot of times in that situation, when it pops off top shelf of the racetrack and a car comes in there once again when you're already spinning out of control, holding on for dear life, it administers a second shot. That's when you typically see cars go just flying down the hill, and it's all, it's like wrecking pinball, from there on. So great job. Could have been a lot worse, but still going to be a long night of recovery here for Grant Gutter as this brings out the first caution for incident on the evening.
Yeah, it certainly will, because you noticed just before we came back to the front here that he still had damage on the front end of that race car, so not able to get it all repaired. And if there's a bad place to have damage here at Talladega, it's going to be in the front of the race car where, that part of the car obviously hitting the air first. It's going to slow you down the more damage you have. But as we do turn our attention back up front, how about Cody Nagels in the 6th for Nightmare Esports, currently being scored as your leader. Daniel Eberhardt runs in 2nd with Trevor Oswinoth for the Jack Shack back in 3rd. Then it's Malik Ray in 4th, Ian Martin in 5th with Landon Velicki in 6th. Then you've got Michael Guest in 7th, Nash Brambilla 8th, Garrett Maines in 9th, Michael Triscaro currently rounding out your top 10. Michael Triscaro, I mean, we saw some conversations going on in the chat today, and something that got brought up just briefly, and it wasn't necessarily the focus of the conversation, but something that I feel like maybe some people forget about is how close, how many times he has come to getting a win here in his own series, the Intimidator Superspeedway Series, and yet still has not been able to find victory lane just yet. He's been leading on the last lap multiple times, and unfortunately has just never made it all the way back to the checkered. So who knows? Maybe tonight's his night. Good-looking car. He's got the prime colors on that Chevy Camaro. And right now, he has himself running inside the top 10 with some really fast drivers around him. Don't forget, he's got a teammate with Mike Davenport just to his inside. And when I say teammate, more like team driver, his actual teammate is Jeff Merck, who's another NBG Motorsports driver who's actually going to be sitting just a couple rows behind him. But either way, I'm going to be keeping an eye, Matt, on that 34 to try to make it back to the front. He's looked good so far here tonight, but he's got a lot of guys he's got to get around, a lot of hungry guys that know that we still have 50 laps to go in this race.
Hey, there's no way to get better out there on the racetrack than surrounding yourself with one of the fast cars on the racetrack, and that's exactly what the 34 has done. Unfortunately, I don't have the rapport and the knowledge of him like you do, but I can tell you one thing. He drives that 34 car. That reminds me of someone else who came so close so many times, and that's Michael McDowell. He had plenty of runner-ups, a ton of second, third, fourth place finishes before he finally punched his ticket. To your point, could it be tonight that 34 machine being piloted by Michael Driscoll punches his ticket into victory lane? He's having a great run thus far. Let's see how this night finishes out for him as these lights go out on the pace car and we get ready to get back to the boogie here in Talladega.
So the pace car is going to make the left turn back down to the pits. The field will line up back in the 2x2 formation, all the way back to 41 cars deep. Field now back in the hands of Cody Nagels and Daniel Eberhard as they pace up to the Geico restart zone. This is where you're grabbing a gear down to second and getting ready to hammer the throttle. Here we go. Green flag is back in the air. 11 of 60 laps complete at Talladega, and it's a great restart for the outside. Cody Nagels got the initial jump, but now Daniel Eberhard's going to start to fight back. He's got a push from Michael Guest on the bottom.
Big time push from Michael Guest on the bottom of the racetrack, but on the high side, here comes the Rocket Man, Mika Ray, who's the biggest mover of the race, up 14 positions in that fifth, currently slotted in that fifth place position. That guy really knows how to push around this place. Absolutely incredible until we had that first caution flag, being really aggressive here early, but I love the call, especially here in this money racing. One of the best ways to stay ahead of the mayhem is to put your car out front, and that's exactly where that 7 machine seems to be going right now, as he's second car and landing the high side of the racetrack. Starting to give a big push there to that 6 machine as they pull alongside side by side here coming through the tri-oval.
And look up top, here comes Matt Lee in the 04 and the 60 of Jeff Merck. These two not teammates anymore, but they have been working together really well so far here tonight. And as they dive off the climb to banking into turn 1, out back looks like the middle is the lane with the most organization, as there is a big gap right now between the rear bumper of the 54 of Michael Guest and the front bumper of the 55, Mike Davenport. Now Malik Ray is going to look a lane higher. He'll jump up top as he'll pick up a push here from Matt Lee and Jeff Merck. Is the move enough to get the 7 clear before they get into turn 3? No, it's not. Now Landon Veliky has arrived on scene. He is now on the back bumper of his teammate pushing Cody Nagels. And that's a really good looking number 62 Ford Mustang. And as they sit 3x3 up front, Matt, as a driver at this point, I almost think I'm backing out if I'm not up here in the top 10.
Yeah, if I'm out there on that racetrack, 15th place on back, all the warning bells inside the cockpit for me are going off. I am bailing. I am getting out of Dodge because you can feel it, in the words of Phil Collins, in the air tonight. The big one is coming. But I also love from the broadcast standpoint, I love the intensity here at the front of this piece. Look at the 6 of Cody. This guy is commanding the front of this field, throwing big-time blocks, makes it look so methodically at the front of this thing, getting a big push from the 62 as he takes it to the sucker hole to try and go for the lead as the 39 off the pace. You see him get down to the flatlands there, going to be able to pull back in line, but you're going to lose a lot of track position here, Austin.
Yeah, and up front, you said it, it's fun to watch, and so far I'm very impressed with the job everybody's been able to do. I mean, it looks like there never was an update, but here we go, 4 wide, further back, Kyler Wynn in the 82. He's going to jump up, he splits one of the Hyper Motorsports drivers. And oh man, this is where you do start to get really nervous here. 4 wide, how long can this last? Kyler Wynn, will he pick up some help here if he continues to go to the front? Oh, contact, there they go. They're going to wreck out back. The 44 Navarro's around. He's going to collect a few more. Chase Mastretta's in it. He had nowhere to go. Now the 25 in the grass. Oh man, that's another big hit at the end of it for the 25, who had absolutely nowhere to go. And it looks like Gordon Spain in the 38, he's going to be involved in this one as well. That was Kevin Freeze, who got on the brakes but just couldn't quite get checked up quick enough. And Navarro, boy, bad news for that race car, because if we go to the cockpit view, he's crab walking, Matt. And you know what that means. That rear suspension, it is all out of whack, and this could be potentially a night ender, at least for now. I'm not sure if they have the fast repair yet or not. Wasn't listed in pre-race info, but he's going to have to hope so, because if not, that car's junk.
Yeah, that 44 unfortunately took it from both ends there, and then near the end of that thing, administered another big-time shot. And if you think he's bad, Look at the carnage to the 77. I mean, Steven Scott Jr. is decimated. The hood of that Camaro is gone. The front end looks like it went through a cheese grater. In the back of the race car, forget about it. The back bumper cover is missing, and it's spitting more coal out than the Stanley Steamer.
Yeah, let's go back here and see exactly where everything went wrong. I thought it was going to be where the 4 wide was, which, I mean, that might be where it starts, but it certainly didn't look like anything Kyler Wynn did wrong as he was running at the top of this 4 wide action. So watch this. As they get off down into turn 1, watch the 77 there, the red and black car in the third lane just in front of the pink and black and white 2 of John Mullahan. They're 4 wide right as Kyler Wynn goes by here. No issues there, but then 77, there's a brief checkup, not much. Oh, it's the 44 Navarro, who actually is the first car that gets turned around here, and it's the 2 of John Mullahan that sparks the contact. So there was a brief checkup. We saw that. You saw the fire out of the pipes of the 44 and a few others. Watch it again in slow motion here for Navarro. There's the fire out of the pipe, so a brief checkup. And I think either Mullahan had to check up as well, and it just slightly shot that car down the track, or, and this is kind of the alternative that may have been going on here, maybe he was trying to hop in line behind Navarro because there was a gap there, but just misjudged it if that was the case, and boy, it leads to a big incident. Watch this from the cockpit view. Let's see. Watch his steering wheel. Yeah, that's what it was. No, he was just trying to jump in behind him. And I mean, from that view, Matt, when we played at full speed, it looks to me like he's clear, obviously, but just not quite. And that's why it's so tough to judge in these race cars, especially when you're running this fast, this close together. When you get clear by that just little bit, that you got to take it. And man, I mean, he just clipped him. I mean, another, I don't know, inch or 2 back, and he's clear, but not quite clips him, and then it's on from there.
You really can't fault him in this case. I call it getting Daytona'd. I know we're here at Talladega. That's just a byproduct of pack racing right there. The 2 has no idea that there's going to be a slight checkup. You see the flames come out of the tailpipe as you wind it back. That's going to cost that 44 a little bit of momentum. The 2's trying to slipstream down behind him, has no idea that he's off the throttle, and doesn't really have any idea until he makes contact with the 44. And after that, we set this track aflame as he's up on 2 wheels, comes crashing down. That throwback 8 machine, back to Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s 2001 victory at Daytona. That car is destroyed. And every time you roll this back, Austin, it gets more painful to watch. There's a lot of great drivers affected in this one.
Yeah, Brian Hennings, that was the big hit that did all the damage to his car and the rear suspension of Andrew Navarro as well, as you saw a lot of them diving through the grass to try to miss it. And that did work out for most of them. Unfortunately, though, it didn't work out too well for Kevin Freese, who took damage right at the end of this thing. But, I mean, that's some big hits right there. The 043, Zach Range, Chase Mastretta, Andrew Navarro, Brian Hennings, Kevin Freese right there at the end. Gordon Spain in the 38 may have even had just a little bit of damage. I mean, this one took out a lot of really, really good cars that were doing good this race and had a great shot at it. You know, you think of Navarro, he's one of the favorites. Kevin Freese, Chase Mastretta's been on a roll. John Mullahan making a return. We know how good he had been. But, I mean, just watch this hit for the 44 here when he gets him in the wall. Look at this car. I mean, this thing gets up in the air, sets back down. Brian Hennings, the front end of that race car, torn to pieces. And then right here, the second hit. Man, Navarro got jostled all around.
I mean, he got set up in the air twice on that deal. And that reminds me of the ARCA car before the recent update, when the front of it looks like it acts like a javelin and just sends the other car you're hitting, skyward. And that's unfortunately what happened to the 44, not once but twice there, as we now send it down to pit road. And look at the damage, the aftermath here as these drivers stuck getting damage to their, or I should say fixing or making repairs to their vehicles. But for all intents and purposes, this is going to be a tall ask for these drivers to try and recover as Talladega, Yeah,
absolutely, Matt. We're going to go ahead and take a break here for the people watching at home. Had a brief issue here. Doesn't look like it's anything major. I think it just gave us the server crashed just briefly. Hopefully this didn't affect any drivers. I don't believe it did, but we'll go ahead and get this sorted out here momentarily, so just stick with us. We appreciate the patience, and we're going to take a quick break off air, but we will be right back, hopefully here in just a minute or two. Stick with us. Welcome back to Talladega Superspeedway. Sorry for some of the brief issues. We did get kicked out of the server, so thankfully glad to say that it wasn't a PC issue for once, but nonetheless, thank you all for sticking with us. Well, while we were gone, Dawson Wise hopped up here. I think he wrapped up his league race, so looks like we're going to be a trio now for the rest of the race. Dawson, how have you felt about what you've seen so far?
Well, I've been enjoying hearing you guys call some of this racing, and look, it's been really intense, which I expected, man. So many updates to this car last week. It kind of went back to the golden age of plate racing back a few years ago when I first got back into it, where you can't slam draft anymore, which is all we've known for a year at this point in basically every car. I'm looking forward to the rest of the race. Really fun stuff, really intense tonight. This is some high intensity that I'm not sure we've seen here in quite a while.
Yeah, and the way it's been so far, I mean, 2x2 since we had that restart, by the way. We joined back just about a lap or two after they got the green flag back in the air, and you can see it's 20 of 60 complete. And so we're still expecting at least one green flag stop. Now it gets a little more interesting, though. 45%, I still don't know if they're quite to the point where they can make it on a one stop. I think they'd have to save quite a bit. I just don't know if that's realistic for how much they could save with the way they're racing right now, at least. But up front, Cody Nagels, Daniel Eberhardt, two drivers leading the front of this field with a ton of experience and a ton of talent when it comes to plate racing. The 7 of Malik Ray and Trevor Osmanoff for the Jack Shack running in row 2. But that third lane, you can tell they're starting to get antsy. And Kyler Wynn, he's been the man trying to make things happen all night. We saw him 4 wide earlier, and now we're going to see him 3 wide here with Jeff Merck through turn 1 and 2.
3 wide through turns 1 and 2. In fact, the HMFIC of the league right there in the middle, not where you want to be. However, he is using that to his advantage as he continues to charge towards the front. But check this out, guys, that high lane trying to get the momentum once again. The 60 there as well on that high side of the racetrack. He has been putting up some of the fastest laps of the race. And just as soon as I say that, John Molahan in the 21 goes a 49.81. That's going to be the new fastest lap of the race all the way back there in P15. But how about these guys at the front? They are not afraid to mix it up, dice it up, however you want to put it. The intensity is through the floorboard or through the ceiling right now, and we're barely working lap 22.
And no surprise, the drivers up top. Matt Lee for Nightmare Esports, Garrett Maines, Kyler Wynn, Jeff Merck, John Molahan, all drivers I expect. And you notice Matt Lee had to time that. A week ago, 2 weeks ago, he would have just been able to go up there and said, you know what, Garrett, just drive through the back of me. Hit me, and we're going to go forward.
That was a big move.
That was a big move. But anyways, you notice he had to time it. That's because you can't slam draft, like I said, anymore. You have to time that move to the outside now. And Matt Lee did it to perfection. He leads off 4.
That was a big move and a bold one at that. Matt Lee slammed the door on not 1, but 2 lanes as he went all the way from the 3rd, all the way down to the bottom. Garrett Maines will now get clear. He'll jump in front of Cody Nagels. And here comes the 82 of Kyler Wynn. And I got a question for you two. Oh, man. Oh, boy, was that a close call as Jeff Merck, just as you were talking about all the differences with pushing now, Merck tried to give him a push, and Kyler Wynn, who is considered by many to be one of the greatest super speedway racers in the sim, that almost got him turned around, so that tells you just how treacherous it is. But, you know, Kyler Wynn, the last couple weeks, the job we've seen him do, I want to flash you back to last week, and the push that we saw where Kyler was pushing Malik Ray, and it was a 2-car tandem, just 2 cars. And I know it was the Gen 4 cars, but Kyler Wynn did something that I have never seen somebody do in my time broadcasting super speedway racing, and that is take just 2 cars on the outside when you've got a very lined up inside and middle lane and push him clear. And so Malik was talking about this 82 being one of the best when it comes to super speedway racing, and I got to agree. What do you guys think?
Based upon what I'm seeing here tonight, how can I possibly argue with what you're saying? That move in the Gen 4 car where they basically hooked up, you know, 2-car tango style and just checked out. I wish I was up here in the broadcast booth to see that. That had to be quite an experience. But speaking of pushing, these guys on the outside of the racetrack, ooh, that 60 does the dance again. I think that's the 60 on the high side. No, excuse me, that's the 90.
Whoa, man.
Look at these guys. Oh, my God. How many lanes are you going to block? There they go. Boy. No, they don't go. The one catches a huge, big-time push off the front of that Camaro and somehow was able to send it back up to the high side of the racetrack. I am scraping myself off the floor.
Garrett Maines, count your lucky stars right there, because I thought for sure it was over right at the front of the field. Maines got down on Matt Lee's nose. I don't know if he just anticipated being clear, tried to make the move. It didn't work, and Matt Lee cut him a massive break right there. He could have easily driven through the back of him and wrecked 20 cars, but instead they both keep it going. This is insanity, total intensity at all times. These guys are all over the place right now, trying to figure out when to push, trying to figure out when to take a run. We've had 8 different leaders in the last 3 laps, and look at Lee changing lanes again. That's the most riveting part of this new package to me, is they continue to do the lane swapping that we are used to seeing in the Slam Draft package. It doesn't work as well in this one because you get such a big run of the car in front of you that it's hard to not just want to drive through the back bumper, and you can't do it anymore. We've gotten away with a couple tonight. I'm not sure how many more we're going to get away with.
Yeah, and building upon that, Dawson, that's going to change the game of blocking as well. You figure you try to make a big block that you used to be able to take. You may not be able to take that block, or excuse me, that push anymore if you make that block. So we'll see. I think that'll be more of an end-of-the-race kind of discovery on how well that works. But you look at the track temp, 123. Again, plenty hot enough to affect handling here tonight, but it doesn't seem like it's been a major issue, at least not as of yet. And I wonder with the update, even though the pushing maybe not as good as it was for a lot of drivers, maybe the handling has improved just a little bit, as you saw him hit 190 there, top speed into turn number 3, at least here at the front. But Matt Lee still looking pretty solid out in front, able to control both lanes right now, as him and his Nightmare Esports teammate of Cody Nagels lead the bottom and the middle. But it's still Garrett Maines, Kyler Wynn, Jeff Merck, and now how about the 38, Gordon Spain running with these two up top. And by the way, Gordon, he got involved in an earlier incident but didn't get much damage on that car. And now here he is running back towards the front here with 27 of 60 laps complete.
Yeah, Gordon Spain continues to be on the recovery drive in that Chevrolet ZL1 Camaro, just outside the top 10 in that 12th place position. As now he continues to charge forward, but I cannot get over this 3-wide racing at the front. There they go again. Every time I take over the comms, it's my time. It's my time to talk in the broadcast. These guys are just straight messing with me as they start doing the jig. I thought we were getting ready to drop a nuclear bomb again. But how about Matt Lee? I mean, if anyone's questioning the size of the lug nuts on that race car, those things are massive right now as he continues to just troll all the lanes, 3 lanes right now, out there making it look easy. And he has been so close to being set so many times, and we're currently working, lap 28? I just don't see how they're going to be able to keep this intensity up without tearing up a lot of race cars. It is getting really dicey out there.
I think it's also a testament to some of the accolades you see at the front right now. Daniel Eberhard, former pro. Garrett Maines, current Coke Series driver. Kyler Wynn also has done his rounds. So the defending Podium 500 champion. Cody Nagels, the defending Omega Cup Spring Bowl champion for ERA. You've got so many accolades here in the top 8 to 10 cars that it's hard to get it all into one sentence. Just the amount that these guys up here have won, and that is exactly why they have the confidence and they have the guts to try what they're trying right now, because they know they can pull it off. You talk about Gordon Spain, third on the outside. He's going to take it top shelf up to the safer barrier with Michael Guest. They're going to try to get that line rolling, but it's all Cody Nagels up front alongside Daniel Eberhard. The Martin Sports Extra Life Chevrolet, he did a good job to get up front. You mentioned Matt Lee. Matt, there he goes again. Matt Lee to the outside. He leads in front of Kyler Wynn up top.
It's all Cody Nagels, and it's about to be all Nightmare Esports, because here comes the 62. Landon Veliky sitting second on the inside just behind Daniel Eberhard. The 89 of Trevor Osronoff, what a job he's done so far here tonight. Further back, here comes Michael Guest in that 54, trying to get up to the back bumper of Jeff Merck to give a boost to this outside, but they won't need him now because John Mullahan in the 2 jumps up. That'll make it 4 cars, and this now hurts the middle as the bottom still surging strong. Eberhard, is he going to get cleared by Nagels? Yes, he does. That allows Lee to jump to the middle, and now that puts Nightmare Esports back to 1-2 as we are now officially to the halfway point of this race. Still 3x3 up front for the first 3 rows, then things start to simmer back down to 2x2. But another driver that I do want to spotlight here tonight that, Dawson, I know you've had a chance to maybe know a little bit more about this than Matt is. We've had a chance to race with him, is Josh Bonwell. I mean, I'm thinking back to the SimCar days. It has been a long time since we've seen that name on the racetrack, but doesn't look like he's missed a beat because he currently runs in 13th, and he's up 15 positions from where he started this race at.
Perhaps an hidden iRacing boss, in the words of DJ Yee. If you watch any of his content, going by what you're saying, he hasn't been around in eons, but yet here he is tonight in the big show and doing a great job. But, speaking of doing that, a great job, I just can't get over the confidence and the poise of these drivers up here at the front. It almost looks like you're watching an air show. The Blue Angels, the Thunderbirds. What these drivers are doing up here is it's a side-by-side jousting match. Now you have the 90 of Eberhard on the 90, that Ford Mustang on the bottom, Cody Nagels in the 6. This guy just continues to put that car wherever he wants to on the racetrack, and it's absolutely thrilling to watch. Here comes the high side of the racetrack. There's the one getting a big-time shot.
Trouble out back.
Big time explosion there. Everyone scatters. Everyone able to reel it back up. We're going to stay under green flag conditions. That's going to cause some big time momentum to these guys. About 20th place on back or so. Not quite sure what happened, but clearly some damage there to the 00 machine. That's going to be Tucker McLeod, there, who is in that 31st place position. Big time moment for him out there on the racetrack.
Looks like those guys are going to be able to keep the draft, at least looking back towards Evan Carlbon, looking back towards Josh Bonwell, who we just talked about, Jared Haynes as well. It looks like they're all going to get lined back up here and be able to drive right back up to the field, although it's going to be really close. But those front two cars do have the draft, so they'll be able to all work back together and get back up. For now, a 14-car breakaway here at the front back to Gordon Spain, that last car in line on the third lane. This is some of the wildest racing we've seen on a Thursday night in a really long time. In terms of how big the runs are, in terms of how many spots you can gain with one move, I'm not used to this. We're not used to this much movement in one of these races. We haven't seen it in a very, very long time. It's a breath of fresh air, and these guys, they're throwing it all on the line right now. There's still 28 laps to go, by the way. Almost half the race still remains. And now, okay, we've decided we've raced enough for now. We're going to go back to 2x2 as that group, led by Evan Carlbon out back, starts to reel the leaders back in. Where do they go when they get there?
Yeah, Evan Carlbon, one of the drivers that you knew was going to be dangerous here tonight, kind of sitting around the middle portion of the pack, but still plenty of time, and that 71's just hanging around until he feels like it's time to go to the front. You did see us take a replay of that incident there, and for Tucker McClendon, I mean, that's probably the save of the race. I don't know how he held on to that race car, because now we're going to get pit stops up front here. We'll see if everybody gets in clean here for all the drivers that do decide to pit. And looks like so far so good. A little bit of a lockup up front for Brambilla, but I think they're okay. Steve Sizemore in the back in the 8. He had a little bit of a moment as the 97, Tyler Vickery, is also going to work his way down to the pits. And we'll wait to see. The 97, by the way, that's actually Axel Smith as they get ready to get back on the loud pedal and get out of the pits to get back up to speed. And now that we see this first group going, got to think that's going to draw some others. Mark Vondell in the 59 from McCullough Motorsports getting his tires and fuel. And he'll now put the loud pedal down to get back out. Let's see, do we see any of the leaders coming this time? They're working through 3 and 4. They're all single file. Will they come down?
Single file is usually the best telltale sign. Come one, come all. Usually the first pack comes down, and here comes the second pack. It's a scatter formation here. Everyone's going to try to get everything they can hard on the binders. 0 mistakes, no one off into the grass. And as soon as I say that, there's a Toyota Supra back there that just ate the commitment cone. But other than that, everyone getting safely into their pit boxes as pit road becomes the hottest place here in Talladega. That's the 39 ride I was referring to. Looks like that's going to be an Ian Martin who totally just obliterated the commitment cone, goes off-road, able to get it back on pit road. But that's a byproduct of this plate racing, especially as competitive as it's been out there. Everyone trying to get as much as they can, and sometimes you step over the edge just a little bit. Mistakes can be made. As this group down and away, grabbing a gear, back on the loud pedal, and getting back up to speed here on the racetrack.
Yeah, pit stops now pretty much complete, at least for the main group of leaders. We'll await that group that came to pit road. It's now led, I believe, by Michael Triscaro. You'll see them come into frame as we come off turn number 2, and well, they're not really going to be very close to these leaders, at least not as of right now. Pit box number 1 helped Garrett Maines quite a bit. He inherits the race lead off pit road as he was able to use that initial pit box to his advantage. Matt Lee, Daniel Eberhard, Michael Guest. Here comes Cody Nagels. And all of a sudden, they're not going to break away. I thought for a second the first 8 cars were going to break away. They're not. That group led now by Jared Haynes will run them down, but back from them, they might just break away. The top 15 may have just broken away from the remainder of the field. It's going to be awfully close as the field works back by the line. New leader, D3, Daniel Eberhard.
Yeah, thinning the herd. That's what always happens here at these super speedways with pit stops. And it's kind of weird. It's almost like a small punishment when you come out as the leaders from a pit stop. In this case, if you're Garrett Maines and Matt Lee, looks like they're going to maintain decent track position with D3 jumping down there off of turn 2. But at the same time, it's almost like if you get out in front, you're kind of the sitting duck because you know everybody else is going to have a run. And when they get there, they're going to try to use that momentum to get around. 25 laps to go, and we are still expecting one more green flag pit stop, and that opens the door now for some strategy, but they're not going to think about that yet. First, they've got some racing to do and some positioning to sort out as Michael Guest now leads the high side further back. How about trying to kind of catch this group? There's not quite 2 packs formed up for this lead group, but there are a couple, most notably Michael Triscaro, who's just outside of drafting range. He's about 1.8 seconds back. He's getting a big push here from Gordon Spain and Tyler Vickery. Do they have enough to catch back up?
Well, that's the biggest question right now for that group of cars. Now we're going to switch the focus back to the front of this piece. Daniel Eberhardt here has command here in that Ford. In fact, it's a Ford 1-2 right now as they command both the high side and the low lane here at Talladega. We were running 3 lanes abreast. We've seen to kind of curb the excitement here after that last big scare we've had out there on the racetrack, but 2 Fords nonetheless lead the charge. Matt Lee, Michael Guest both having great runs. Lee up 22 positions from where he started. He's holding on to the final money spot here in that 3rd place position. Big time push there on the bottom lane. He's going to give him a big time shove as that's almost going to square up these cars as they come barreling towards the start finish line. Daniel going to lead that lap by 2 1/1000ths of a second. Now he's going to decide it's time to go to the bottom. That's going to leave the 54 on the high side hanging. Michael Guest, as he's going to have to wait for help. That's going to be the 6 of Matt Lee, I believe, on the high side of the racetrack. Excuse me, Cody Nagels coming to him on the top shelf.
I think this may help that line back there by Michael Triscaro. Actually, they're going to get help in a couple ways here. Number one, this group is naturally too wide up here. That means that group, if they stay single file, should, I say keyword should, start to try to run some time down. But as they lane change up here, unfortunately, that's not going to help those cars back there. Now, they have gained some more help. They've gained 4 more cars back there in the form of Kenny McCullough. It looks like Evan Carlbon, Josh Bonwell, Mike Davenport. So a 7-car group. They are starting to pick up a little bit of time, but they still have to get about half a second before they're in draft range. And the lane changing won't help because that's going to allow these guys to just continue to rotate fresh temps to the front of the field and run away just a little bit. As I say that, they're chipping away. All they have to gain is about a half a second, and then they're right back in this thing. Michael Triscaro and company, they're looming, and it's got to hope for these lines to stay gridlocked for just a little bit longer.
So still 2x2 throughout this entire lead pack. Chris Walker in the 23, saw him at the back. On the inside, John Mullihan running out the outside of the back of this group. And so we talk about the payout spots. We'll talk a little bit about those in just a moment, because what we're going to do is go ahead and take another quick break. Might be our final one of the night, but we'll go side by side so you don't miss a thing. Stick with us. We'll be right back at Talladega.
I played a couple of simulators, and this was like very responsive. Especially the hydraulics and stuff, the motion and stuff was really, really on point.
Make you feel like you're really driving. It feels real.
It adds so much to the experience. It's just really, really cool.
It was pretty awesome.
Have created our own drink company. The fastest growing sports drink in history.
We will run! We will run! Ladies and
gentlemen, we got panel.
The monkey is prime!
This season, we are hydrated.
The official sports drink of the UFC. It's time!
Oh, that's good.
Green flag is in the air. We are racing.
3x3.
Almost no trouble. Around goes Alex Hill. On into the outside wall goes Hill. They're wrecking big time out back. We're not going to throw a caution. Finish. Who gets it at the line? Cody Nagels wins it in Talladega.
Welcome back to Talladega Superspeedway, now closing in on just 17 laps to go. Some lappers now in the way of the leaders as they start to fan out 3 wide further back. Jeff Merck, who you saw we just hopped on the onboard with, is going to try to sneak back in line. Now they're 4 wide as they work around the lapper. Looks like Malik Ray is going to jump up in front of John Mullahan to pick up the 82 of Kyler Wynn. When you see those two start to get in position, you know it's go time, and looks like they are going to try to go to the outside. Hold your breath here. This could get dicey if they get 4 wide up here.
Oh, this is going to be, look out. They got 4 cars up against the wall. The 60 is going to split them with no help. What a move by the 60. Now watch this as he clears the 23. Does he jump up in front? No. He's going to continue on. No help, no problem. I got the side draft for life. I can't believe the drive out of the 60 right now. Are you kidding me? I could never pull that off. That's absolutely incredible. Now he's going to get some drag street help there from the 2 ride. It's those 2 guys on the high side of the racetrack. Then you have about a car length and a half gap to the other Toyota coming on the high side of the racetrack. Big time lane change move once again from Garrett Maines. We've seen him be able to pull this off earlier in the race, and he's making it look methodical once again. Big time push there for the 90. That almost got a little rowdy there.
There it is.
Jeff Merck's off. Can they all hold on to it? No, they don't. Caution is out.
Saved it. Oh, no, they don't.
Oh, man. I thought for sure that we were going to keep it green. Dawson, I was in the same exact mindset as you right there, but it doesn't look like we do. As I'm looking at the turn 3 entry wall cam here to try to find out exactly who ultimately wrecked to bring out this caution. May have been a little bit of a precautionary one. I don't know, though. Let's see. Let's go back here and see what happens. First off, how this thing started, and then ultimately what led to the wreck. So back this up. That's Evan Carlbon. The wreck's further up. And it's the 60 of Merck who gets turned out of line. And he had a big moment just about, a corner ago there. And that's what I was kind of like, oh, man, I thought for sure he got turned there. In fact, let's back it all the way up to that. As jumping to the outside here, I believe that was Logan York in the 06 who was trying to make something happen here. Although I want to make sure, yep, sure enough, sorry, the 09 here tonight, Logan York, he jumps out. And we know how aggressive Logan likes to be. And to watch as he gets up here to the back bumper of the 60 of Jeff Merck, he's going to try to push him in the corner here. And, oh, man, that almost turned Jeff into Mullahan. I don't know how they saved it. And then I guess Logan must not have learned the lesson from that first push because he tries it again here. This time he's really offset. And he's just going to hit Jeff in the left rear. And it's going to send that 60 down the racetrack. He gets into the 82 of Kyler Wynn. That sends him into the 7 of Evan Carlbon. It looked like they saved it initially here. I thought they were fine. Let's see, do they have any further incident after that? Looks like at least in that view, they saved it for the most part. Get a couple more angles of this here. Watch out back. See if anybody wrecks out back here. As Merck saves it, almost wrecks, but again, holds on, and then out back. Who did have the 71 get turned around. Oh, yeah, that's a big hit for Evan Carlbon further in the background. So that, I wonder if that's what brought the caution out.
That's what I'm guessing was the reason we see the green or the yellow flag fly here. There's multiple cars scattered down the racetrack, and another big-time rear-ending impact there administered by the 23. I think that's the third or fourth time now we've seen a couple of these cars get up in the air as we're going to go on board. Just kind of holding on, doing the slide for life there. You see the back of that car come flying up in the air. Big time impact there on the inside safer barrier. It's turned off the nose of the 56 and then Captain crunched from the 23.
Tough break. I thought for sure we were all going to save it. I had just started to say, oh man, they all saved it, but tough break for Carlbahn and a couple other cars down on the bottom, and it sets up a late race restart. It was intense enough already. We saw the peak of that intensity right there, and now less time, less place to go. If you're 10th on back, you got to think about it now. Oh man, the intensity just got turned up a whole nother notch.
Absolutely it did, and you know, that incident there, taking out Carlbahn, and it was one more, I think it was Chris Walker in the 23, that car that we saw run into him, as there's Vicente Guerrero, Brian Hennings. I think Vicente here is trying to get a lap back, as is the 74 Brian Hennings and the 00 of Tucker McClendon. And Tyler Vickery is well up there, who is currently being scored out in front. Actually, that might be Nash Brambilla. Either way, point being, once some of these cars do get the wave around, that's going to move the one of Garrett Maines up into position just behind the pace car as your leader. Daniel Eberhardt in second. Then you've got, looks like Chase Mastretta on the apron as he's trying to, I think, yeah, he's not on the lead lap either, so it's Cody Nagels who's going to be scored third, John Mullahan in fourth, Michael Guest back in fifth, you've got Malik Ray in sixth, Matt Lee seventh, Dalton Martin eighth, Trevor Osnoff ninth, and Len Velicki rounding out your top 10. Well, I was trying to go back here, Logan York, I believe he brought it to a halt as I believe he got the EOL penalty for that last incident, so again, that will send him to the back. So as we go back up front, looks like we are going to go one more lap under caution here, which gives us a chance to talk about what the payouts are looking like here tonight. And this was based off 45 entries, so it came pretty close to it. And that was initially going to be 350 to first, 250 to second, 200 to third, and then 180 to fourth with 130 to fifth. So something that they changed up this week, fellas, which is kind of interesting, is payouts. They dropped a spot, they moved it to the top 5, and what that did was made the payouts a whole lot bigger. What are your thoughts on it?
I love the fact that you're spreading the wealth, you know, paying out to the top 5. I've done a couple money races on a much smaller scale. Nothing like going up against this competition. I thought I knew about plate racing. After being up here a couple times, I absolutely know nothing, and I'm okay with saying that. I mean, but now we're talking about including 2 more spots into the money spots. Now that's going to add for more excitement, more big-time moves out there on the racetrack, and I think you're already seeing that. This is one of the wildest plate races I think I have ever called, you know, in my time up here in the broadcast booth. And before that last incident kicked off, I was so hyper-focused on what was happening at the front. I'm glad you guys saw that, because I was only looking at the top 3 cars as my jaw was hanging wide open.
Yeah, the bigger payouts are always good for not only for the drivers in terms of having an incentive to race this hard, but also for us up here, man. It makes this fun. It makes it a lot more enjoyable because these guys are willing to put more on the line. Look back to the SummerSlam 499, for example. Look back to last year's SummerSlam, for example. The big-time races that we've put on, every move just feels that much more intense. They're into that race. You can feel the intensity. It's palpable when the payouts are bigger. And so on nights like tonight, every week now, that payout just a little bit bigger. The races are just going to be that much more intense. And tonight, man, this is wild stuff. Still 12 laps to go. And these guys have been throwing haymakers for the entire 40 laps I've been up here.
Yeah, it's been a good one so far, and as you guys mentioned a few times, it's just going to get better from here. I'm already kind of through the roof here on what we've seen so far here tonight. It's been a great race, pretty clean too. Only 3 cautions so far. Now, I know things can get messy here at the end, but we'll see what happens. It's going to be 12 laps to go. You got 2 of the best in business out in front with Garrett Maines and Daniel Eberhardt, and it's go time. I don't care where you're at in the field. If you're 5th on back, you need to be jumping to that 3rd lane trying to go to the front, because you don't know what's going to happen now. And you don't know if you're going to get another shot at it. Here we go, back into the Geico restart zone. Green flag is back in the air. 12 laps to go at Talladega. And it's a good restart from both cars on the front row. Who's going to get to their leader first? Cody Nagels coming with a push down into turn 1 for Garrett Maines. Meanwhile, up top, Mullahan, Malik Ray, they're now going to get connected. It's a 3 versus 3 tandem on the top and the bottom as they race off into turn 2.
Coming out of the turns 1 and 2 complex, that bottom lane's going to surge ahead, but here comes a big charge on the high side of the racetrack. 2 Fords leading the charge. Here comes the 90 with a big time head of steam, all courtesy of that 2 machine on the outside lane as well. Side by side, door to door, it's a John 4 special into the 3 and 4 complex. That 1 Garrett Maines continues to enjoy just about a half a car length lead as he's got the 6 of Cody Nichols doing all the bull work on the bottom.
Matter of time for that third lane started, and here it comes. Dylan Jones, one of the guys that we've said before, he waits till the moment comes to him. He goes to the outside. He had some help. His help bails. Devin Ray, I think, was one of those cars, at least if I saw that car correctly. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure it was one of those Jack Check cars. Couldn't tell. Michael Triscaro now jumps out there, though, and so does, guess who? Josh Bonwell. We talked about him earlier, and he said it's go time for him as well. How about the Gordon Spain machine? Does he take a look? Not yet, and that line is kind of stalling just a little bit now as they reach the end of the backstretch, but not for long. Spain jumps out of line, and the third lane starting to work as they climb the banking in 3.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking somebody else was going to jump out, and Gordon Spain, that's a good choice for him to do so. This is kind of the scenario we see each and every week with this third lane. It starts to get organized. Drivers like what they see. They start to jump up, and then that means the drivers at the back of it start to bail out, and you saw that right there as now Michael Triscaro, nothing he can do. He's trapped at the back, but look up front. You're going to see 2 of the Nightmare eSports drivers now jump out to this third lane. It's the 62 of Landon Velicki pushing his teammate Matt Lee is up front. Garrett Maines is going to drop low. He's trying to block Eberhardt, and Daniel Eberhardt is choosing to stay in the middle. Will he dive low? Does he go higher? Does he stick with where he's at? Here comes a push from Malik Ray as, man, things are really starting to tighten up now. Malik has to get on the brakes, fire out of the pipes as they check up further back. And, oh, man, this can't work. How long can they do this? Eberhardt still in the back bumper of Maines into 3.
On the back bumper of Maines into 3 as it's a side-by-side affair once again. Is this now 3 lanes of mayhem here at Talladega as the 1 Garrett Maines somehow continues to carry the torch as there's a big time running coming on the high side of the racetrack as you have the 62 there. He's working that second car, doing all the hard work. That bottom lane's going to continue to get a big-time surge there at the line. The Camaro, John Mullahan, led that time at the line, up 10 positions. That 21's now starting to flex some muscle here at Talladega.
That third line's dying out. Landon Velicki ran out of temps. They just ran out of time. That middle lane was so congested that third lane could never get clear. And all the cycling, all the mayhem at the front just did not allow them to roll past the 90, the 1, the 2. So they're going to be stuck. They need another car. Malik Ray was going to be my guess. He hangs in line behind Eberhardt. Michael Guest is my next pick to jump out, but he's not clear. He's right at the door number of Matt Lee right now. Let's see if they surge again. Can Landon cool it down? Can he start to surge? He's pushing a little hard, maybe a little too hard. As Michael Guest, Matt Lee almost get together. Here comes another surge. It's Matt Lee for Nightmare Esports. He may poke his nose out front in the 1.
Wow, and further back, we were on the onboard view there for Joshua McCullough as he got into Kevin Freeze, and that was almost disaster. As I was getting ready to say, Joshua McCullough doing a great job right now. He's up 21 positions from where he started this race at, one of the McCullough Motorsports drivers, and he's got a teammate, Ken McCullough Jr., just to his inside right now. Ken currently sitting in that 17th spot. But how about Kevin Freeze, who was involved in that earlier wreck? I thought this car was done. I thought he was totaled out of this race, but he kept working on the damage, and now he's got himself back up inside the top 15 with just 8 laps to go. But as they work their way off of turn 4, it's Matt Lee and Garrett Maines leading the way as they're 3x3. Now Lee gets another shot. That almost turns him up the track as here comes the 62 of Elicki.
The 62 of LK, Matt Lee, everyone up here in the mix. And these guys are putting on a draft clinic right now. Could somebody give me a manual on how to do this out there on the racetrack, please? And if you can't do that, just teach me how to save a car like these guys are doing right now. That outside lane, they keep trying to get the numbers up there, guys. For whatever reason, they just seem to stall out. They lose the momentum on the high side of the racetrack. And just as I say that, here's Gordon Spain trying to give a shove here, but they're going to get out of line once again here. How about these 2 cars in the middle lane, though, coming up the sucker hole? These guys are giving it all they got right now. There's Michael Guest, PGR Intimidator Sports.
Trouble out back. Jeff Merck is around. Dylan Jones, Tyler Vickery also. This may draw the caution, and it will.
And it draws the caution as it looks like they get it back rolling here. Jeff Merck, though, with some pretty significant damage sustained. Oh, man, huge damage. So that number 60, look at the left front. That thing is destroyed as he's going to immediately just tow it back to the pits. He's not going to be able to make it to the finish. So Jeff Merck, that will just about end his night. Let's go back and look at it here as it looked like it was only a couple car incident, which again, surprising this late in the race where it happened at. Figured it'd be a whole lot worse, but let's back it up here and see exactly where things go wrong. So it almost looked like from that view, things may have potentially started with Tyler Vickery here. Let's see if that is indeed the case. Watch this. As they're 3 wide, there's the 124 Tyler Vickery. And does he go to... Oh, no, it's actually on the bottom. That starts with the 8 of Chase Mastretta and the 36 of Dylan Jones. And so watch here. Mastretta, I believe, did he get back on the lead lap after going a lap down a little bit earlier here? I didn't think he did. Yeah, right now he's being scored a lap down. But so watch this. As he's running in the middle here, let's see. Does Chase drift up the racetrack? Or does Dylan come down? Or is it just a little bit of both here? Watch it. Ooh, Chase is definitely moving off the yellow. Dylan's hugging the white line in the middle. He's not moving at that point. Maybe drifts down just a little bit now. But it looks like at the same time Chase starts to move up a little bit more. I think that's more so the 8 kind of moving off the apron. And at the same time, Dylan Jones, maybe at the last second, he drifts down a little bit. But I think Dylan is fair to say in his lane. And Chase just, as he moves up a little bit, they don't actually make contact, but he gets close enough to trigger a little bit of netcode, which you're going to notice gets this 8 hooked, sends him into the left front of the 36. That sends them both up the track. Into Jeff Merck he goes. Merck gets clobbered right there. We'll look at that incident again in just a moment. And then there's the 124 of Tyler Vickery going for a spin as he tries to save that race car. I think he ultimately ended up sliding down onto the apron, and there was that second big hit for Jeff Merck that led to all the damage. That was huge. Watch this here from TV3 as there's the initial contact, and then Merck, it's almost like they're stuck together. Oh, my goodness.
Oh, my God.
I mean, he snowplowed Dylan Jones into the inside safer barrier.
Yeah, that was like a salt truck up in the Northeast coming that head of steam, and they get bound together here. And oh my God, that collision. I mean, I know his last name is Merck, but how many times does he have to get Merck tonight out here in competition? He's already held on. I mean, 3 or 4 saves by my account in this last one. That's how he ran out of luck tonight and just absolutely gets massacred. That way that incident just unfolded looks odd. That, the way that the 8 car reacted, I think from a little bit of net code there because there was no contact. And then unfortunately, Mark at the wrong place at the wrong time. As we now go on board, watch this at speed.
Heck of a save by Tyler Vickery. That's what that was. Same for Axel Smith. I mean, that was some impressive stuff for both of those guys to hold on to those race cars after getting that sideways, especially when they're wrecking that big out back.
Yeah, absolutely. And wow, what a I'm watching that hit from Merck and Jones back for the first time. Oh my goodness, into the inside wall. But for Chase there, I'm a driver too, and I think it's one of 2 things. Either one, it's just a lapse in focus, perhaps. Maybe you just drift up a little bit further, and the handling's gone away, and you just don't realize it in time. The second thing, though, and what I think is more likely, and I think several of us have been guilty of this before, you get to looking up front. You see somebody make a move that you don't like. You see something happen. Somebody makes contact. Somebody's out of shape. And you get to looking up there 3, 4, 5 rows ahead of you. And you just kind of lose track of where you're at. I'm almost wondering if that's what the case was there. Because these guys were all over the place. Matt Lee, Garrett Maines, Daniel Eberhardt, Cody Nagels. They were all really, really on edge. I mean, we're right on the edge of control. So perhaps Chase just got... Like a football player, if you're on defense looking in the backfield and you get caught on that fake and you don't know where you are, I think that's kind of what happened to Chase right there. It's a tough break, but it's something we've all done at some point, and you can't help it because these guys up front are, like I said, are right on the edge of control. They're trying everything they can to wreck, and he's just trying to stay out of it. Just a tough break for everyone involved.
Absolutely. Well, here we go. It's going to be a 3-lap shootout. It looks like as the lights are off on the pace car, this lap will be going back green. To decide it here tonight, we've got almost 50 viewers watching in the chat. So I think the drivers are amped up, and I'm getting pretty amped up for what we're getting ready to see here for this finish. It is going to be wild as you've got Garrett Maines and Matt Lee leading the way. Daniel Eberhardt, John Mullahan in row 2, Malik Ray, Cody Nagels in row 3. And then the 7 of Jared Haynes still looking for his first PGR eSports Intimidator Superspeedway Series win. He's got the onboard view, and look at that. He's got the 5-point harness on. He's ready. He knows it's getting ready to be chaotic. And so we'll see if Jared can maybe find a way to get the job done here, get to victory lane tonight. It's going to be interesting, that is for sure. And by the way, not into overtime just yet. If we get another caution, it will send us in to our first overtime attempt. But as of right now, this will be a natural green-white checkered +1, and we do have to make it at least 2 laps around to get to the white flag before this race would be deemed official. Man, looking for favorites here, and it's hard to pick. I mean, you look at the names up front, whether it's underdog or favorites, all these guys have proven tonight they've got the talent to get the job done. But I think, if you have a guy that really wants it up here right now, maybe more than any of them, it's either John Mullihan or Michael Guest. For John Mullihan, how many times has he come second in these races? I mean, he gets so close to victory lane so many times. He does a great job keeping himself up here, but still looking to get the job done. And then the 54, Michael Guest, the only Coke Series driver of the other two that I believe is still looking for his first win here in PGR eSports. And the other two I named was, of course, Garrett Maines and Malik Ray, who have been lighting it up. So we'll see. Maybe he can get the job done here tonight. Get ready to find out.
Place your bets as that iRacing.com pace car rolls off as we're going to do a short track Friday night special. 4 laps to go in the scheduled distance here tonight. Or, boys, do we have to invoke overtime? We're about to find out as we hit the Geico restart zone. Matt Lee's going to push it through the floorboard, climb up through the H pattern as his glorious V8s come roaring back to life here in prime time. As we fire off into the turns 1 and 2 complex, it's a John Force special, side by side, roaring into the corner. No clear advantage here. That bottom lane now sneaks ahead by a nose. This is going to be a 3-on-4 affair on the high side of the racetrack, but that bottom lane is formed up. Big-time push coming from the 90, giving all the peppers to the driver of the 1, Garrett Maines.
I know the focus is going to be up front. I understand that, but start to watch out back. Keep the eyes out back here. The 89 of Trevor Osbornoff, the 34 of Michael Triscaro, and the 25 of Kevin Freese. Those are 3 cars I'm watching right here. If you're going to see a move from out back 3 wide on this last restart, potentially, it's going to be from those 3. Osbornoff takes it top shelf. 89 to the outside. Triscaro goes with him, but Freese does not. Kevin Freese stays parked. They're going to need 1 more car. They've got some help starting to come to him, but not a lot. With 2 laps to go, now Spain comes to him. Do Osbornoff and Triscaro have anything for these lead cars? Garrett Maines is out of shape. So is Malik. They're going to wreck up front. John Mullihan gets turned, and around they go.
They're trying to save it. We'll keep it green for now as it looks like they're off the racetrack, and it's just the 2 of John Mullihan that's actually going to spin around here. And he clobbers the inside wall, but he'll come to a halt. Back up front we go, 3 wide. Here comes the 89 of Trevor Osbornoff. All that chaos. Wrecking. There they go. The 90's in it. The 04. Oh, my goodness. Big hit.
Oh, man.
We got 2-1 at least. Almost 2. Oh, he's barrel rolling off a 4. That's a nasty wreck for Matt Lee.
Then we have a X Games stun at the catch fence.
Oh, man, that was the worst wreck we've seen all night. Big impact for Matt Lee, and he immediately towed that car. I think that was out of frustration, knowing his night's going to be obviously done after that. But then watch this here again. One more time here from this view. Actually, we'll go back here and start with the chopper view first. And, I mean, it was getting dicey up front. It was kind of just a matter of time, and I have a feeling this is going to be maybe a little bit too much pushing gone wrong here in the corner. As we go up to Matt Lee, watch the 04. So he's got Malik Ray just in front of him here. And where does it all go wrong? Lee goes to give a push to Malik, and then I think right as he does that, guys, it almost looks like the 89 of Netcode. I was just going to say the 89 of Osbornoff running close, and you can see there's no actual contact there, but it certainly looks like the left rear of Osbornoff kind of shoots the 04 down. So yeah, I think that's a case of some left rear, right front netcode that sends Lee down the track, and then Eberhardt gets collected. Veliky had nowhere to go, and then watch this. This gets nasty for Matt Lee. That thing gets up into the catch fence. Ken McCullough Jr. as well. He is completely riding on top of Landon Veliky and the safer barrier. I don't know if he ever came down from there. He didn't. They stopped up there, and so Ken McCullough Jr. had to hit the tow button just to get off of Landon Veliky's roof.
If that's not enough for you, ladies and gentlemen, watching along here at home, I don't know what is. I mean, this wreck here, as the time expiring on the racetrack, as you watch these cars go end over end. Then you have the DEI throwback Camaro go full-blown X Games node riding on top of the safer barrier and Veliky as the 04 barrel rolls Rusty Wallace style down the racetrack. Absolutely incredible. And then another big-time shot. The 90 shoots straight up in the atmosphere. It is absolute mayhem out here on the racetrack. As we go back on board, let's watch this one more time. Hold your breath at home.
Man, that's one of the more brutal ones I've seen in a long time. Matt Lee does some barrel rolls, not the way spectacular way he wanted his night to end. Not much he really can do. Man, that gyro cam view is something else, man. The ride he went on right there in the cockpit of that race car. Kenny McCullough almost ends up in the grandstands here off turn number 4. Man, for those two Nightmare eSports cars, they couldn't have done much better tonight. That's Veliky and Matt Lee. And to have their nights in like that, certainly not what they or Daniel Eberhard or Kenny McCullough all deserved. They all ran good races. The 90, the 04, and the 62. They were three of the best cars in the field. Their nights end in sparks now, and that's a really tough break for them on something that is not really anyone's fault. It's 2 laps to go. It's Talladega. You're fighting for every inch. And right then, after the scramble, Trevor Osborne saw an opportunity, and he and Michael Triscaro took it. I can't fault anyone for that one. It's a tough break how their nights ended. But, man, you got to take gaps when you see them, and that's what those cars did.
I agree. It's go time, right? You got to go for it. The big money's on line, pay window's open, so everybody is going to be aggressive, and I don't think we're going to see anything different here for this next restart, but it will officially be our first attempt at overtime. Remind you of the rules real quick. It's going to be a 2-lap shootout, and we have got to make it to the white flag for this race to be official. If we don't, we'll rack them up, try it again. As again, we do have 3 attempts total. I don't think fuel's a major concern, at least not yet. We'll see if that changes here in any of the overtimes, but I believe everybody should be good to go. And as they'll get the one-to-go signal right here, they'll get back in a 2x2 formation through the entirety of the field, and it's Garrett Maines, Malik Ray being scored as your 2 leaders. Then you've got Trevor Oswanoff and Michael Triscaro. We've been talking about him all night. We've been trying to kind of line up the story, and now he's just got to go out there and execute and hope that he's got the luck on his side. He's pushing Malik, and you know what? The question is here. And Dawson, I know you were here last time we saw this. The 7 turned the 34. It wasn't intentional, and by no means am I implying that Michael would, turn Malik here, but does Malik try to repay the favor tonight if the 34 gets back out in front? Does he help him out? And if you're Michael Triscaro, what do you do here? Do you stick with the 7 and maybe try something different, hope to see his part at the end, or do you go for the lead and hope it works out?
I do remember that race. Sorry to cut you off, man, but I do remember that race. I think he repays him. He said it that night. He said he was going to repay the favor later if they got back together. He said he owed him one. Tonight might be that one. Mike's been at this for a really long time. He wants this one really, really bad, and now he's in a really great spot to get it done.
That's a great point there, and I'm glad you guys were there calling that race. Unfortunately, I wasn't, but could it tonight be the night? Austin, as you mentioned, we set the stage earlier in this race. Turisco's got Prime on the hood, running that number 34 car, pretty much in that catbird seat, if you ask me. Could this be the night he punches through and gets his win on the big stage here, the HMFIC of the league? And who does he have in front of him? Well, how about that 7, Malika Ray? Great dancing partner there for Mike to work with. That pace car is going to get ready to pull off the racetrack. Garrett Maines has put on a show. Strap in at home, folks. It's about to get rowdy.
Just remember, the sweetest victories are the ones that are hardest to get. So Michael Triscaro, he wants this one bad. Don't count out Gordon Spain, looking for an underdog upset. Trevor Oswanoff, he's won a couple before. Can he return to victory lane? And Garrett Maines and Malik Ray, they've been the most dominant all night. We're getting ready to find out if they can hold on for 2 more laps. Green flag is back in the air at Talladega, and it's a good restart for the 1 and the 7. Garrett Maines and Malik Ray will drag race off as they climb the banking in turn number 1. Out back, a lot of pushing and shoving. It's a 4-car tandem on the outside versus a 3-car tandem on the inside. The momentum goes to the inside for now, but how is it going to shift as they race onto the backstretch?
They race out of the backstretch. Those three cars on the bottom being led by Garrett Maines. They have some big-time momentum coming down the back straightaway. The 89's going to shift to the high side of the racetrack. He's making a big-time move. How does Mika Ray respond? He's going to take that Camaro right to the back bumper of the 89 ride, and he is going to send him. Oh, we got trouble behind him.
Big trouble.
Multiple cars sliding down the banking. How did they almost saved that. That is absolutely incredible. Caution going to come back out on the racetrack, guys, and we're going to have to rack 'em, stack it, do it all over again here in overtime.
Looked like it started back around Kevin Freese and Gordon Spain. I think Gordon Spain, I don't know if he came up or if Kevin came down, but those are the two cars I thought I saw get together. Vicente Guerrero gets collected. And the all green, the IROC style car, and from there it was chaos behind him. But for the most part, everybody kept it going. But a couple cars, including Guerrero, involved there as well as Gordon Spain in a mix-up there in turns 3 and 4.
And, you know, Kevin's obviously pinching as tight as he is here because he's trying to side draft. He doesn't have any help. It's the only way he can, you know, try to keep from falling back. And it looks to me from that view, at least from the chopper view, just like a really tight side draft that maybe led to just a little bit of netcode. And for what it's worth, Gordon Spain was bobbling around just a little bit, which if they give each other just a little bit of breathing room, this isn't an issue. But, you know, at the end of the race, they try to run this tight, and right there, I think there's a little bit of netcode. It's hard to tell if it's the 38 moving up a little more or if there's a little netcode that actually moves him up here. Best way to find out is try to go to the cockpit view here, see if we can see any sudden inputs in the wheel that would make you think any certain way. It's too hard for me to tell from that view. Either way, once they get together, it's on from here. I agree. I thought this was going to be a huge wreck. York has to dodge. And I think by York making that dodge when he goes back high, that's what keeps this from being a massive pileup. But even when they're on the apron here, look at Spain, Vicente Guerrero. He's 90 degrees sideways, getting pushed kind of T-bone style by Mark Von Dell. And then right at the end there, Josh Bonwell, Vicente Guerrero, a little more contact. It certainly did some damage to a couple race cars, but I wouldn't say that one in of itself ended anybody's nights, but certainly cost a lot of drivers track position. And fortunately for Gordon Spain, after being in a great position for that restart, doesn't look like he's going to be in such a good position for this one.
Yeah, Gordon Spain just might have won the Don't Stain Your Ride, Use Tide moment of the race with that big scare right there. But as you said, Austin, three cars pointed 90 degrees there. They washed back up the hill, able to get some separation. And once again, we see some monster saves here tonight. Certainly, the track position loss going into overtime, that's going to be tough to swallow, but at least those competitors, those drivers that were involved there are going to have a car they can continue on with, as we're going to have to restack this deck one more time. Garrett Maines continues to, just carry the torch at the front of this field. Trevor Osworth there in the 89 Toyota, Michael Guest in third. And how about Mika Ray and Michael Turisco there holding on to that fifth place position? He is still in contention to win this thing.
Absolutely. And sorry to cut you off, Dawson, but
you're good.
I do want to, just before we get ready for this next restart, we're going to go ahead and take one more commercial break, get a few things set up, and we will be back for the finish. Stick with us. We'll be right back at Talladega.
I played a couple of simulators, and this was like very responsive, especially the hydraulics and stuff, the motion and stuff was really, really on point.
But you feel like you're really driving, it feels real.
It adds so much to the experience. It's just really, really cool.
It was pretty awesome.
have created our own drink company. The fastest growing sports drink in history.
We will run! We will run! Ladies and gentlemen, we got this season, we are hydrated.
The official sports drink of the UFC. It's time!
Oh, that's good.
Welcome back to Talladega Superspeedway, where we're getting ourselves ready for overtime attempt number 1. I believe it's going to be number 1. Yep, sure enough, indeed. I just had to double check on a couple things. Actually, I take that back. I meant to say it's going to be overtime attempt number 2, as we had our natural green-white checker. Then we had another caution there just before we could get back to the start-finish line. And so now we'll try it again. If we can't get it done, we'll have one more shot at it. But looking at the lineup here for the top 5, it's Garrett Maines, Trevor Oswinoth, Michael Guest, Michael Triscaro, and Malik Ray. All lined up here and all with a shot to win this one. Can't forget about Ian Martin, Jared Haynes, Kevin Freese, Dalton Martin, or Mark Von Dell. What a comeback for some of the McCullough Motorsports drivers. Mark Von Dell, Joshua McCullough. Watch for them 10th and 11th. If they can get linked up here, they could have a chance to go back to the front. All right, lights are off on the pace cars. It'll make the left turn potentially for the final time here tonight. Rolling back through the tri-oval as Garrett Maines awaits to launch in the Geico restart zone. Can Oswinoth match him? And what can Malik Ray do to push that 89 out front? Green flag is back in the air. 2 laps to go at Talladega. It's a good restart for Garrett Maines, but Malik Ray pushing Trevor Oswinoth. He'll draw back even as they work off towards turn 1.
Oswinoth surging ahead from that big-time push from Malik Ray on the high side of the racetrack. However, the bottom lane does respond. 2 Coke Series drivers here at the front trying to show these guys how to get it done. Look who's the 3rd car on the bottom. Where did Michael Triscaro come from? He is hooked up to those Coke drivers, and he is going to try to give these guys a big-time shove here on the inside lane. But that second lane right there hanging nice and tight. Side drafted as best they can. That one now, Garrett Maines going to surge ahead going into the turns 3 and 4 complex.
All right, Austin, you talked about it earlier. You talked about blocking. It's time to start doing it if you're Garrett Maines. He almost gets turned by Michael Guest. That was inches from being disaster. It brings Trevor Oswinoth back in the race. Malik Ray, how hard can he push? He's going to push as hard as he can, and now you're laying it on the line. White flag, 1 lap to go here tonight at Talladega. 40 on the inside, Brecken out back big time. Doesn't matter. 4v4, and as the field will reach the Alabama gang super stretch, who's got the better push for now? It will be the Jack Shacks, Trevor Oswinoth, that leads the way down the back straightaway for the final time.
Man, oh man, all the side-by-side, and it's going to come down to who has the right push at the right time. The 89 of Trevor Oswinoth leading on the outside. Malik Ray, has he ran out of temps, or is he setting up for a 3-wide pass? Maines and Guest still trapped on the bottom. Here they come. Final time off of turn number 4. Little bobble out back by the 34. Now that's going to lose momentum on the inside. Now they start to beat and bang as they come into the tri-oval for the final time as they work 2 by 2 all the way to the checkered flag. Who gets here first? Trevor Oswinoth. He is going to get the job done. He wins at Talladega.
Absolutely incredible finish, photo finish here at Talladega. In fact, Ray and Guest absolutely, mirror the same time differential, coming at 0.5 thousandths of a second. But Maines is going to punch his ticket and win one of the wildest high-octane thrillers I have ever witnessed here at Talladega. The mayor of Browntown gets it done here in prime time. What a job by Garrett Maines.
What a win for that team. I know they wanted one bad, and I'm watching it back just to see how close this one was, because these guys have had some bad blood over the last couple weeks, these two, and it's ironic that they then found themselves racing each other for the win, and at the end of the day, it came down to a matter of about, oh man, not even an inch, probably a fraction of an inch for the win. Man, what a race. That was incredible stuff.
I would have to agree. What a race, what a finish. We got to go back and take a look at it. By the way, was looking here at some of the reactions, and I could judge that Michael Triscaro looks like did get kicked out of the money with that little slip up there in turn 4, so a tough break for him. But man, I mean, this is all you can ask for here on a finish. A clean finish with a drag race all the way to the checkers. And man, this got really, really intense. Like I said, coming off of 4, the inside lost the momentum. So, I mean, you got to give a tip of the hat to the job Michael Guest does just to even keep Garrett Maines in position. And boy, this was so close at the line. I don't even know if we have the official gap yet as it was less than 100th of a second. What was it?
2/1000ths of a second, Ozernoff to Garrett Maines.
Oh my goodness. And boy, it was all of those 2/1000ths too. Watch this right at the line as we'll go to the photo finish cam first. And we're going to have to actually bring up the UI here just to go frame by frame for how close this was, as Trevor had to use him up a little bit. And you talked about it, Dawson. Trevor, with the way it's been going the last few weeks, I think he felt like, you know what, I'm going to use Garrett up here a little bit if I need to, and he should not have any problem with it. And you saw the little bump from Garrett after, showing that respect. He enjoyed that finish, and man, look at that. Nose to nose. Looks like Ozernoff gets it by, I don't know, maybe a front splitter, if even that. And if they had another 50 feet, I think maybe Guest steals it, as you saw Garrett steals it with the push from Guest, as Malik Ray had jumped out of line by that point. But watch this again. Watch this from the TV3 view, the zoomed-in view, rather, as look at the beating and banging here through the tri-oval. Trevor gets into him once, and now they're going to start to get together again. And I think at that point, Trevor realized he started to lose his help. And you know what? I almost wonder if he doesn't get into his door there, maybe he loses too much of a run and he doesn't win this race.
Yeah, that's a great point there, Austin. But like you said earlier, it's coming down to the end of this race. Everyone has got it cranked up to 110%. You're going for the money here, and these guys put on one heck of a show here tonight on PGR Esports as Trevor Ozernoff gets a big-time victory here. And like you said, 1/1000th of a second was the margin of victory there for the 89, getting it done in that TRD-powered Supra.
Phenomenal finish indeed. So before we get to your top three, let's take a look at tonight's official finishing results. Trevor Ozernoff is your race winner. Garrett Maines in second. Malik Ray rounds out the podium. Michael Guest finishes fourth, and it's Joshua McCullough who rounds out the payouts here tonight. Jared Haynes brings home sixth. Michael Triscaro in seventh. And it's Kevin Freese in the 25 back in eighth. Logan York ninth. And Ian Martin rounding out your top 10.
11th place tonight is going to be Cody Niegels there in that 11th place position. 12th belongs to Nash. I'm going to butcher this last name here, Brumrella, perhaps. 14th, that's going to be Vincent Gutierrez. 15th, Dalton J. Martin coming home in that 16th place position. Jimmy Emos. 17th belongs to Tyler Vickery. 18th, Tucker McLennan there in the 00 machine. 19th, and my timing and scoring just decided to bomb out again, guys. Sorry about that.
Oh, I can go ahead and do the next 10. Tucker McLennan, 19th. Mark Vondell, 20th. Gordon Spain tonight, 21st. Showed a lot of speed, but it's not going to be explained by that finishing position. He ran really well. Josh Bonwell, good to have him back, 22nd tonight. D3, Daniel Eberhardt in 23rd. Mike Davenport, 24th. Axel Smith, 25th. Zach Range, 26th. Matt Lee, one of the dominant cars of the night, finishes 27th. John Mullahan, 28th. Kenny McCullough in 29th. And Dylan Jones in the 30th position.
Jeff Merck for MBG Motorsports finishes 31st. Chase Mastretta in 32nd. Chris Walker finishes 33rd. Evan Carlbon in 34th. Then you've got Brian Hennings back in 35th. Larry McDonald in 36th. Steve Sizemore 37th. Angel Navarro 38th. Sean Corbett in 39th, with Steven Scott Jr. rounding out your top 40. And Grant Gutter rounding out the field. He finishes in 41st here tonight. All right, we're going to go grab your top three for interviews. Stick with us. We'll be right back at Talladega. All right, welcome back to Talladega Superspeedway. Going to start first here tonight with your race winner for the Jack Shack. It's Trevor Ozernoff. Dawson Wise stands by with him.
Hey, Trev, it's the voice in the booth. You get a copy?
Hell yeah, brother. What's going on? I'm trying to get this beer open right now. I don't have a fucking bottle open. I'm sorry. I don't have a bottle opener, but I'm trying to get it open.
Oh, no worries at all. Man, look, a feel-good win, I got to imagine. Look, this team as a whole, I've been there to see the development firsthand. This one was coming. You know, the last few weeks, it felt like the Jack Shack could run better and better and better. Tonight, you do just enough, and I mean just enough, to get the job done. It's your third PGR Esports victory. First off, I mean, what a heck of a finish. Take us through the finish and how you're feeling coming home a winner tonight in PGR.
Really, it was kind of setup and a what was gonna happen type finish. Michael jumped in the Discord with us and he said, "Hey, Trev, I'm going with you wherever you go." I said, "We're going third." So I think it was like the first green, white checkered. We took the third line. They stacked up on the inside, and it just put me in the position to get behind Garrett for third. And I said, "I'm not lifting," and I didn't lift, and I pushed them all the way through 1 and 2. Jumped out to the outside on the back, and then the caution came out, and it put me second. And then, yeah, man, it was just kind of hopes and prayers from there. And it worked out. It was very, very clean. We beat and bang indoors, baby. That's all it's about. As long as you don't wreck that person, me and Garrett, we're letting it all hang out. And I got to thank, man, Malik for that push. He one of the best out here, brother, and I can't be mad at that. I don't even know, baby. I'm ready to celebrate. Jack Shack is rocking tonight.
Well, that's the next thing I was going to ask. Again, it feels like the team has had the best runs of late. It feels like just every week has gotten better. And last week I thought was kind of, the pinnacle of that. I thought you guys ran extremely well for the whole race. You guys put 3 cars up front, but you couldn't finish the job. Tonight you finished the job. What does this win mean for the Jack Shack as a team?
Hey, man, this is why we do this. We do this to win, to have good racing and win. The money's like a trophy, but to have the fairly clean racing we had pretty much all night, and I don't know, man, I enjoy this so much. I enjoy the beating and banging and the getting sideways and saving it and the 0.002 of a second finish that we just had at the line. And I don't know, man, the Jack Shack, we've been working. We've been spending extra time practicing, learning, spending hours in practice sessions, just trying to figure things out. Settings to lines to how to do this, to situational awareness, just figuring it out. And it's working. It's working. You were in there with us the other night running the Michigan practice for RMR. That's what we're doing on a weekly basis. And it is helping tremendously. So, baby, like I said, the Jack Shack is rocking, and expect more from us because we got some hitters right now that are on top, and they are working. So that's all I can say about that, man.
Well, what better way to cap off the work than to win in the PGR Intimidator Superspeedway Series? So the pedestal's yours. It's your moment to celebrate. Any shout-outs, thank yous you want to give here before we let you get back with your teammates? Hey,
first and foremost, you guys put on the best broadcasting on iRacing, period. So we got to thank you guys for that. Stepping the game up, going through the fields. We got Big Hick and Mean Green in the booth tonight, baby. We got Matt. I got to come up with a name for you. But Matt, you too. And I got to thank PGR every single week, regardless of whatever happens. There's always a race going on Thursday nights. The premier Superspeedway Series of the week. These are the hard ones to win. The big boys come out. All the pros come out, and we let it rock, baby. Regardless of the finish, we let it rock. So, got to thank the Jack Shack, man. I got to thank Devin. Oh, Dirty Money Joe back there. Chris Walker, he got taken out a little bit early, but he's a heavy hitter too. And Jared is a new addition to our team. Jared's up there all night, every single time. So, can't be mad at the boys. Got to thank Scott up there spotting for us too. He was in there just giving us information, helping us out. And, man, This is a long time coming, baby. 3 time. Oh, 3 time. I got to get used to that. It used to be 2. Now it's 3. So I got to thank you guys. I never do this. And they ask it by request. I told them the next time I win a race, I'm going to let them know. My parents, mom and dad, thank you guys. Appreciate it. And all the boys, baby, go ahead and I'm about to get some shots going, get some drinky drinks. We're about to have a good time here in the shack. Appreciate you guys for tonight.
Well, congratulations, Trev. Thanks for talking to us.
Yes, sir.
All right, and now that it's going to bring us to your second place finisher here tonight, Garrett Maines. Matt Mettler stands by with him.
Garrett Maines, Matt and the boys up in the PGR broadcast booth. You got a copy, bud?
Yes, sir.
Well, hey, man, you start off on the pole here tonight. You put down a blistering lap out there on the racetrack. And then we took the green flag, and this race just went absolutely wild. Some of the craziest high-octane drafting racing I've seen here at Talladega in quite some time. But outside of all that mayhem going on, you were poised and primed to be in competition tonight. How were you able just to make those methodical moves, controlling those lines at times? And describe to me this new drafting update. How has that affected the way that you approach it with this car?
Yeah, I mean, after qualifying, we started on the pole to drop the green, and then my race went down the toilet very quickly. I learned very fast that I did not want to be on the bottom while everyone was learning the drafting. I mean, this is the first time I've actually been at a proper super speedway in this package, and it has changed a lot. Probably a hot take. This is a better package than what we had before. You just really couldn't use the top the way it used to be, and it was really just a revolving door of guys at the front, and then if you got somebody in there that had less experience pushing, it was like that's how you got some movement up front. But I think this one kind of made it to where it was easier to make mistakes pushing. You could really use that third lane. You could make something happen just by making less mistakes instead of having to push perfectly. So I don't know. There was a lot of things going on in that race, and you could make a lot more moves than usual. I wouldn't say there was one specific thing that could, cut you through the field. Just, once we got to the lead or got into that, cycle where you could revolve back to the front, I felt like, the race kind of went our way. And, there at the end, it probably could have done without that last caution. But, I mean, at the end of the day, I will take second all day long. That was a solid result considering where we came from. So.
Yeah, as you stated, we took the green flag and then your race kind of went in a direction that you didn't anticipate, but you were able to use all that experience, the patience out there on the racetrack, make the right moves inside that Ford Mustang. Talk to me about that finish. I mean, I had to look at iRacing timing and scoring. I mean, the software that I used was out to lunch. You guys had that all messed up. Talk to me about that finish coming down there to the wire. If you think you could have done anything different there to win that race?
Oh, man. I mean, Trevor did such a good job. I felt like the contact entering the tri-oval was kind of the nail in the coffin for me. I mean, we didn't really have the help down low. Guest was doing all he could, but, it was a 4v2 basically. And I don't know, just that stalled our momentum just enough. And we surged back ahead at the exit of the tri-oval, but it was just probably too little too late. You just literally probably 3 feet short of getting the win, 2 thousandths behind. But, I mean, like I said, I can't be that upset. I mean, that was a phenomenal race, and honestly, it's cool to see Trevor get one of these. I'm usually wrecking him, not racing him to the finish, so I feel like he's had one coming for a while, and I'm glad to see him get the win.
Well, Garrett, I can tell you this. I only wish to be a part of a race with a star-studded lineup with you guys in the field out there at Talladega, grinding it out for a victory. That would be my pinnacle on the simulator, but you come up just literally a tick short here tonight. Start on the pole, finish in that second place position, in the money, I might add. Before I cut you loose, man, who do you want to thank? Who helps you get it done?
Yeah, huge shout out to Scott at MCU Body, Linux, the guys at Ryko Performance for all the help this season. We've had phenomenal cars each week, and sort of excited, I guess, to start working with the B program as well for contenders. So hopefully we'll continue that streak of bringing good cars every week. And big thank you to all the work that those guys put in. Also, huge shout out to FGR Excel and Left Court Brothers for their support.
Well, there he is, ladies and gentlemen, your pole sitter showed the poise and the know-how how to get it done here in Earnhardt country. It was a nail-biting thrill ride to the finish. Comes home just a little bit short, but a solid second-place run for Garrett Maines. He comes home P2. We'll send it back topside to you guys.
All right, and now that's going to bring us to your third-place finisher here tonight. Malik Ray. Malik, this is Austin in the booth. You got a copy.
Yes, sir. How you doing, man?
Good. Well, you bring home another podium finish. I know it's not quite a win, but nonetheless, Trevor Oswinoff, he said in his interview how much of a role your pushing played in that win. Was that the mindset when we got that second overtime, or were you thinking about trying to make a move?
No, I was just committed to him the whole time. I PM'd him under yellow, and I was like, I just said, hang on, because once I told him, hang on, I wasn't going to leave him. And I just kept pushing him and pushing him. And he did a good job of hanging on to it, and he was able to just barely edge out Garrett there, so I'm happy for him.
Well, we've seen the Xfinity cars with, of course, a recent update, and a lot of things have changed from, the pushing to the blocking. And tonight you kind of had a chance to get all aspects, whether it was leading, pushing. How different did it feel for you as a driver? And did you feel like it played kind of any role there in the way that race ended?
I say you have to think about who you come up in front of now, because not everyone's a good pusher, and you kind of just gotta, like I'd say, just keep that in mind with every move that you make. And it definitely I'd say it didn't play a role at the end on the last green white checkered, but I'd say, like, as far as the racing before that, it definitely played an end, or like a end is like how you come up, or if you decide to drop down or stuff like that. I don't think you want to be on the bottom anymore on a green white checkered.
Yeah, it certainly seemed that way with the way things were lining up there at the end. But, overall, Malik, not much to say besides a great run today. You stayed out of trouble, and you add, again, yet another phenomenal finish to your resume here for the PGR eSports Intimidator Superspeedway Series. So before we let you head out to celebrate your winnings, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
I appreciate Jared for staying with me on the white flag, and congrats to Trevor on his first win. Or I don't know if it's his first or not, but either way, I'm happy for him.
And thank you, of course, for talking to us. Again, Malik, congrats on that third-place finish, and hopefully we'll see you out here again next week.
All right, thank you, guys.
All right, well, that's just about going to wrap up our coverage here tonight. All three of those interviews with a lot of, kind of showing you what drivers felt was different here tonight. The excitement that, of course, we heard from Trevor Ozernoth. Garrett Maines saying how happy he was to see Trevor get that win. It was just, it was a great race overall. We saw a few cautions, but, this is the first time in a few weeks I feel like we didn't have any controversy. We had a fantastic finish that was clean, and we had really great racing throughout the race with a good crowd and a couple of good guys to hang out with in the broadcast booth. You guys got any final thoughts before we wrap things up?
41 drivers took the initial green flag tonight. And as you guys know, I'm new and upcoming here and so thankful to be up here in the booth with you guys. But what I witnessed tonight was unlike anything that I have seen plate racing in my time in the broadcast booth. Tonight, it just upped the ante. It took my expectations and put them places I didn't think were possible. The amount of saves, the insane pushes, the woulda, coulda, shouldas out there, in the field tonight. So many times that yellow flag could have flown, and the great attention to detail, the skill level of these drivers, in the field, in the heat of the battle, being able just to have that awareness on the racetrack to prevent that from happening. When you look back through all the different replays and coverage breakdown as we dissected things happening out there, just truly a tremendous amount of talent in this field tonight. And then how about that finish? We go all the way into overtime. Garrett Maines, Malik Ray, those guys, and then obviously, Trevor getting the win. That thrilling finish. This race had everything you could ever ask for and then more. Just so happy to be up here and be a part of it with you guys tonight.
Well, I think I'm going to steal some words that Trev said in his interview. He said, "This is why we do this." And sometimes we need a reminder. Sometimes, these guys, especially on track, you get frustrated, you get wrecked out, something happens. And then there's a race like this. And I know a lot of cars got taken out tonight. I know that's, notable. And only about 14 cars finished this race without damage. But at the same time, some of the most insane racing we've seen in a really long time. Garrett called it a revolving door. I think that was a good way to put it. Of guys at the front, you could just rotate in and out and in and out and in and out. You go from first to ninth, back to first, back to the 12th. It was so incredible to watch. It's something we haven't seen in a really long time. And massive props to iRacing for this aerodynamic package because they nailed it. I agree with Garrett. I think this is better. I like this kind of racing a little bit better, where it's a little bit more unpredictable and a little bit less gridlocked. But man, Trev was right. This is why we do this. It reminds you why you love what we do up here, but also what these guys do on the racetrack. Incredible racing, fun to watch, and I can't wait for the next one.
Absolutely. All right, well, that's officially going to wrap it up. Thank you all so much for tuning in. As always, we hope you enjoyed. That's it for me, Austin Green, alongside Dawson Wise and Matt Mettler on PGR Esports. And until next time, have a good night.